There's some that will be more obvious to the outside world in the next handful of races, and with a bit of luck, they'll improve our fortunes.
Hello and welcome to this week's Akkodis Race Debrief. My name's Jodie, and joining us today we have James Allison answering your questions from the Miami Grand Prix. So James, how do we sum up the Miami Grand Prix weekend for the team?
Well, I guess sort of objectively, good to get a podium, good to put points over Ferrari and over Red Bull, but a little bit joyless nevertheless, because McLaren beat us by a country mile. To some extent, we had a bit of fortune getting George ahead of Max, and overall we didn't have the race pace that we wanted to see.
Yeah, talking about race pace, why is it that our qualifying pace looks so much better than the race pace at the moment?
We're finding it pretty straightforward to get the tyres very happy for a single lap, happy in balance front to rear. That tends to mean that the drivers are confident to lean on the car in qualifying, but come the race we are running the tyres, or the tyres are running hotter than we would wish, meaning that the drivers have to then slow down to manage the tyre temperatures. But obviously slowing down is not really top of the list of things you want to do in a racing car.
So if we look at George's sprint qualifying, why did we send George out so early on in that SQ3?
In sprint qualifying, unlike in qualifying, you only get one go, and the drivers are just trying to choose when that's going to give them their best shot. You can wait till the death and hope that the track has come your way a little bit by more rubber going down. But if you do wait to the death, you also are running the gauntlet a little bit of getting messed up by other people causing yellow flags or whatever. And going out early allows you to manage your own outlap pace without having to worry about other cars. And that was what George chose. He just felt that would give him the cleanest run possible into his sprint quali 3 lap.
And someone that had an excellent sprint quali was Kimi. How was the team feeling after seeing land that pole position?
Well, I think, you could see in the faces of everyone in the garage the pleasure that we all took from it. It's a fairly transient pleasure because the moment quali or sprint quali is over, you've got to face the main event, which is the racing. And we know there that the challenges are very different. So a great pleasurable moment, but then you start looking ahead.
So if we look at strategy now, we saw George go out on that alternative strategy of using the hard tyre for the start. Why did you split the strategy like that?
Well, you're sort of splitting your risk a little bit by doing that. If you remember, the race was, there was threat of rain in the air. There'd been quite a lot of rain over the weekend here and there, and that was threatened also for Sunday. It was dry at the start, but they were talking about rain arriving maybe a third of the way into the race. And obviously anyone who can get across the dry period still with their tyres in decent shape and make it all the way to the rain if the rain arrives is well placed, because then they only stop for the wet tyres at the right moment. And the harder tyres give you a longer window in which you can wait for the rain to arrive without really hurting your overall race strategy. So George chose that, but overall, if it weren't a wet race or the threat of wet race, that's a slightly suboptimal strategy. You're better off going medium and then hard, which is what the majority of the field chose. So for Kimi, a bit further up the grid, he chose the more conventional route, and George was just hoping that a bit of rain would come. But in the end, didn't get the rain, but we did get the safety car, and that is also one of the things that the hard strategy will give you. If you get a safety car period after everyone else has stopped, then you cash in.
And you said about Kimi being on that other one, starting on the mediums, but when he did come in for his pit stop, there was something that went on. Can you talk us through what happened and what went wrong with that pit?
Yeah, well, Kimi didn't have the luckiest of pit stops in the whole race weekend, really. When he came in, one of the things we have to be absolutely clear about is that we don't release him back out into the path of an oncoming car. And Sainz was trundling down the pit lane at the point where we were all good and ready to go, and we had to hold Kimi for a couple of seconds while Sainz went past, and then we released. And you get to see what happens if you don't do that from the sprint race, when Red Bull released their car into Kimi and effectively ruined his sprint race in the process, and also screwed up their own race. So, there's a risk to life and limb of the people standing around in the pit lane.
And then we saw Kimi. It seemed like he was finding it difficult on those hard tyres. Was there a reason that he was struggling to bring them into the range they needed?
The hard tyre was okay for resilience, but it was the slower of the two tyres in the race, and it was difficult to judge how hard to push it. Push it too hard, it will overheat and die sooner than you want. Don't push it quite hard enough, and it's not really in the window where it grips well. And he was just not finding it super easy to get the happy medium between those two places. But he's ever so young, and he's only done a handful of races. I think the progress that we've seen in Kimi is really evident, and all of these things are brilliant opportunities for him to learn and for him to have in the years ahead.
And talking about it, he is still very young. Was he being hard on himself after this weekend? We know he's done incredibly well, but it must have been frustrating for him.
I know he would have been disappointed with the start in the sprint race. He would have been a little disappointed also in braking a bit long, which gave Albon the run on him in the main race. But he can be rightfully pleased with his qualifying performances, and he was. And he knows that it was not remotely his fault that he got held up in the pit stop or that he got launched into by Max in the sprint race. So I think overall he would have taken things home with him that he will benefit him in the future from a learning point of view, and he will have a tremendous lift in confidence from knowing that he was genuinely quick in the qualifying stuff.
And there's been concern from everyone as well of George. He didn't seem to be doing too well after the race. We've seen him smiling through the interviews, but saying about stomach problems. So do we know, is he all okay now?
He's absolutely fine, yeah. This generation of cars is not massively fun to drive in a hot physical circuit like Miami. All the time you're having to get the car near the ground. That means putting stiff springs on. That tends to mean that they bucket around a bit, and the combination of the heat, the G, the up and down bouncing that comes with that, it's no fun for anybody. And but within a few hours he was fine.
Yeah, and hopefully the podium takes it a little bit, takes the edge off.
Well, I think he knows he drove a fine race and was satisfied with that at least.
We've seen as well people loving the camaraderie between George and Kimi, but they are noticing the lack of upgrades so far. Are we going to bring any time soon to help us take that fight to the top of the grid?
Yeah, we have actually been bringing upgrades. They're not particularly sort of enormous or sexy, but they've been coming in a steady trickle. There's some that will be more obvious to the outside world in the next handful of races, and with a bit of luck, they'll improve our fortunes. But this has been we're a quarter of the way through the season already. It's been coming at the teams hard and fast. It's actually quite difficult to get upgrades to the car when the races are coming at you in this sort of machine gun fashion. So yeah, hopefully the ones that happen in the next 2 or 3 races will move the dial a bit for us, and also as we continue to try to work on the tyre temperature in the races, that will also improve our fortune.
Nice, and a different kind of upgrade now, an upgrade to the entertainment on track. Over the weekend we saw the Lego cars head out. It looked like absolute carnage, but a lot of fun. What were your thoughts on seeing those cars?
Well, I didn't actually see them. I saw little clips of them in social media, and it looked like everyone was having a fun time. And I heard favourable reports from folk, but I wasn't in Miami, and I didn't get to experience the chaos of that firsthand.
Well, it was a lot of fun, and I know actually we've all been saying it should be on at every single race now. So I don't know if you have any power, make it happen.
Okay, well, I'll put a word in for it.
Put a word in. And then just to finalise, we're about to head